Thank you for everyone for joining this session today. It's really good to see so many of you here. I did see a message come up to ask whether we would provide the slide deck for this. Yes, we'll package up the slide deck afterwards and distribute it, so you don't have to take notes or screenshots or anything like that. Just sit back and listen to it. Yeah, so my name's Chris Muse. I'm the managing director of a company called Geosphere. We're a small software company based down south in England, and we have a long history in mapping and software technology, but I'll come on to that. So this presentation is about our new project, Community Map Scotland. It's actually been running since late last year, and it's a one-year project giving communities in Scotland free mapping software to kickstart the use of digital mapping at community council level. This is a project with my company and Improvement Service and the Planning Aid Scotland team, and this is an experiment. We are putting this software out there for free to see how community councils can use it. We've got some inklings of how it can be used based on our experience in our relative industries. And so we believe that taking the mapping software and giving it to community councils can be really good for a number of different projects. Now, just on the screen here, we've got a few examples. So the top left one being local place plans, and that's the keystone one that we are focusing on in the first year. But there are many other uses of mapping of maps, disaster resilience, climate resilience. There's all sorts of projects that you can get into using mapping because it's a really good visual reference for your village. I obviously believe that 99% of things can be put on a map. That's just what I do. But I believe that you'll be able to find some really useful applications of the mapping software. So why are we doing this? Well, my background is with a product called Parish Online. So obviously you are not parishes, you're communities, but we have Welsh communities using the software as well. We started in 2009 and we've now got over 2,800 town and parish council subscribers in England and Wales. So it's got a lot bigger than I anticipated, but it's really great to see how it's being used so widely for local issues. And it's really helping improve the continuity between staff and members within a council, and aids decision making for day-to-day tasks and even big strategic pieces of work like a local place plan. And in England and Wales, we have the concept of neighbourhood plans, which is a similar concept, and it's been used by over 500 local councils now for drafting their neighbourhood plan and putting it to consultation. And you can see on this screenshot here, they also use it for plotting their assets and things of importance in their area. Now, I appreciate that the devolved tasks and devolved responsibilities are very different between England, Wales, and Scotland, but that's just something we're just going to adapt over time, and you never know how it all might play out. Another reason for starting this project was we believe that you guys, as as members and representatives of community councils, you know better than most people about what's happening in your area. You know better than the higher tier authorities, and that knowledge can be used. You can use it for your own purposes, and it could also be aggregated so that the higher tier authority understands your issues and your pressures much better. That's a more long-term plan for this software, is that it could start to become a more collaborative tool between yourselves and the higher tier authorities. The software's got all that built in, but we're keeping it quite simple for the time being, of just you focusing on your individual projects. So you have all that local knowledge, but you also are the most informal and underfunded in terms of your IT setup and your funding. So that's why with this, we haven't put any financial barriers in the way for this. Long term, I'd like to try and fund this, just to be upfront about that somehow, but we haven't gone anywhere. We haven't formalized anything with that yet. The other thing is that real change actually happens locally, and we saw this happen in COVID times, where parishes in England and Wales took onto the software and were plotting out areas where they were going to put neighbourhood wardens, and plotting where there were vulnerable people that they were going to go and check every day. And that happened in a matter of hours and days at parish council level. And I'm sure it happened in your communities as well. And you did that a hell of a lot faster than the higher tier authorities, health authorities did, because you were able to adapt, you were able to get things done quickly. So giving you tools to help you with that can only be a good thing. Also, I've seen what's happened in England and Wales and how well the parishes and towns use the software and are effective, and I believe that could happen in Scotland as well. So how are we going to go about this? I was advised against this slide. It's a little bit Dad's Army. It's very Dad's Army, but I like it, so I'm keeping it in. So we are taking our Parish Online software, which is tried and tested, and we are adapting it for work in Scotland. So that's the software that we're contributing to the Community Map Scotland project. So we're taking all of that software and expertise. Parish Online itself. So this is essentially the software that we are giving to you for free as part of this project. It's a self-service mapping portal. So you log into it through your web browser. It's fine-tuned, it's like tuned to your community council, so it loads up in your area and has data related to your area, but also national data as well. And it helps you access that mapping in the first place. So we do all of the hard, heavy lifting behind the scenes to do all the data translations and bring all the Ordnance Survey mapping in. And you've got it there just as a click to turn on the layers of information that you want. And it's also a drawing tool, so you can draw your own maps. And I'll show you about that in a bit. So we try and keep it very simple because we know that not everyone are IT nerds like I am. So there's no software to install. It's all secure and encrypted on our servers. And under normal conditions for parishes in England and Wales, we charge an annual subscription model based on the size of the council, on the population. So that aims to make it affordable for all sizes of community. But again, you don't have to worry about the finances of this just now. We're also going about this by bringing in data. So a piece of mapping software is completely pointless unless you put some really good data into it. So the improvement service team on the call here, and in particular Simon from the Spatial Hub, who what they do is curate and bring together local authority data into a nice way to visualize it. Simon, you can explain this better than I can. Do you want to say a little bit about what you do with Scottish data?
I can, if you like. Yeah. The slight issue that we have with collecting data about places and policies is that when policies are created, they very rarely dictate how data should be created about them. So each of the 32 local authorities goes about it in their own individual ways. But when you want a national perspective of all of that, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You've got to pull it all together and then find how to attach all the pieces together and standardize them. So that's pretty much what we do in the Spatial Hub project and have been doing for the past 6 years. The origins of what we do started with collecting address data and street data, which all the councils have a responsibility for doing. And we made great successes of doing that. We've created really valuable national data sets from those that are used across the public and private sector. So we're really replicating what we did with that. We're now collecting data about planning, about roads and transport, the environment and pollution, and health and care services and things like that. And we built the Spatial Hub in a way that we can just expand it for whatever data collection activities are needed. So we're making all of that data available to Chris to put into his software product so that it's as easy as possible for people to find and understand and put on maps and communicate messages to their citizens with.
Great. Thanks, Simon. So as well as Improvement Service and their Spatial Hub, we've also got Planning Aid Scotland on board with us in this project. Now, they are the leaders in training and advice for planning. So you as community councils can go to them and ask them for free advice or even longer term consultancy or whatever it is to get to grips with the planning process, planning issues, whatever it is. And they're also very forward-thinking on how local place plans are being drafted and how they're being consulted on. So they're really good guys to get in touch with and really nice to work with. And they kind of complete the puzzle. So we've got the software, we've got the data, and we've got the advice for it as well. So not one of them doesn't work, but all three of them, it works really nicely. So all three organizations are here for you to help with the work that you want to do. So do use us, interact with us, and tell us what you want to do. In terms of what you actually do in the software, we'll go into a little demo later, but I've put some little videos together just so you can quickly see how easy these things are to do. Aside from viewing mapping, which is just turning on different map layers and overlaying them on top of each other to see what correlations there are, you can also draw your own information into this. So we've made this as easy as we can for you. It's simply a case of clicking around and drawing around areas for marking out whether it's green space or whether it's areas that you want to mark out for development, or whether it's a route for a new cycle route that you think should be going in, active travel networks, whatever it is. You can draw those into the software relatively easily. We've also pre-built a lot of these layers for you, so you don't have to go and start from scratch with each one. It's you don't have to start with the equivalent of a new blank Word document. We've done a lot of that structure work for you, so you can literally get on with drawing. And also, we've got lots of very rich data behind the scenes, including Ordnance Surveys mapping. And if, like me, you like to be really accurate with where you draw things, you can snap to the Ordnance Survey mapping behind the scenes as well, which you can see here, to make your mapping really nice and crisp and accurate. That's just a little bit of OCD kicking in there. But a lot of the time, it's you don't have to worry about the accuracy of this. The best thing to do with certainly drafting a neighbourhood plan is get something down onto the map. Do something rough. Go, right, we vaguely want houses here, green space here, something here, and work on that and iterate it. You can always tweak these later. The nice thing is that you can, as soon as you save this, it saves to our server. So it's stored in the cloud, and whenever you log back in on whatever computer, whether you're in the UK, whether you're in New Zealand, or whether you're watching the women's football in Australia, you can access this and access your data. You can also access it across multiple people can log into your account at the same time. So this isn't an account for you as an individual, it's a community council account. So you can have multiple users all accessing at the same time, all adding information and collaborating on it. So I've just mentioned collaboration. Collaboration goes further than that as well. So some of the layers that we've put into this software, one of them being defibrillator points, which is good for context and looking at where they're distributed. We've created that as a collaborative layer. So normally, everything I was just saying about with you drawing stuff into your account stays private to you. So no other council can see that information. apart from a few where we set them as collaborative, and you'll see that it says marked collaborative on them. Now that is helping you build up a national picture. So you'll be able to see your defibrillators, for example, but you'll also be able to see other community councils who have put their defibrillators in as well. Because we know that there are administrative boundaries, but they are arbitrary. You know, you might be wanting to put a defibrillator at a point in a community hall, but you may not realize that there's another one on the other side of the road that wasn't managed by you. So it's seeing things in context. And this could be something that we evolve over time with this. Depending on how you tell us you want to use the software, we may make more things collaborative and make more things joined up between community councils, so that you've got a joint power and a joint view of your areas. We've also got some tools in here, so it's not just about drawing things onto a map. We've also got some analysis tools. So this one here is particularly useful. It is called an isochrone tool. Now, the example I give for this is, you know, when you're walking around in a city and you see those big monolith map things that says you are here, and it says you can walk 5 minutes in this circle, 10 minutes in this circle, 15 minutes in this circle, and they're just circles. Completely arbitrary circles because they're not taking into account the actual lay of the land, the road infrastructure, the path infrastructure. So this is the same concept, but it uses time instead of distance. So when you click on the map, it plots out a 5, 10, 15, or whatever value you put radius around there, but it's adapted to the infrastructure. And that means you can do some really interesting things. So if you are trying to promote walking and cycling in the center of your village, you can use this to look at where there are kind of not spots or dead spots for infrastructure. And that might guide your thought process into where you could be putting more cycling and walking infrastructure. Or if there's little estates that are isolated, you know, too far away, how can we help connect them into the center of the village? So this is a really useful tool. It's been used already so far. I've had really good examples where it's been used to make sure that their playgrounds are within 5 minutes walking for children, you know, making sure that there's play space available for all neighborhoods and making sure there's no one sort of geographically outcast from that kind of resource. But there's loads of uses here. We've also used it for marketing for village halls. You know, who should we be marketing to within a 15-minute cycle time? Some really interesting things. And then finally here we've got a note on publishing. So this is not just about putting information into the map and using it for your own purposes. Eventually you will want to share this information with the wider public. And we've got a few ways you can do that. One of them is with creating PDFs from the map, so you can export PDF maps as much as you like, no restrictions on that at all. And we've also got a thing called Public Map, which creates a little bit of code, iframe code, that you can then put onto your website or share with colleagues through email even. And it will give them an interactive map, a very cut down version, which is just sharing the information that you want to show them. And so that's a really good way when you get into kind of draft consultation or starting to socialize the ideas that you've got with the wider public. So yeah, the software's got all of that built into it. Now, in terms of signing up to this, I'll quickly go on to this, but it's quite simple. On our Parish Online website, you can type in the name of your community. It will then give you a drop-down list of all of them, just so you just select yours. It'll go through to say, well, what do you want to do? You've got an option to take a trial or subscribe. Now, this doesn't matter for you, so you can click either because you can, well, you do subscribe, it's simpler. If you put in the code CMS12, then that will zero your subscription for 12 months. And don't worry, we'll remind you of the code at the end. We'll put it into the group somewhere. So this is showing that it's normally a paid service, but we're making this free for a year. I want to just go through this sign-up process a bit because there's a little bit of jargon in there. So first of all, that's how you do the sign-up form. But there's also, it'll ask you for a PSGA license number. Now, you would quite rightly go, what on earth is one of those? Essentially, it's a centrally funded scheme to give you as public sector bodies access to more detailed mapping than is that's normally commercially available and you'd have to pay for, but you can get it for free. So you can see the difference in the mapping there. So you get much more detailed mapping. To sign up to the PSGA, you need to go to os.uk/PSGA, and they'll give you a license code that you can put into the sign up form. Now you can do this before you sign up to the Parish Online software, or you can do it afterwards. It doesn't matter. The software will prompt you for it. And there's also another one. Don't worry, there's only two, but it's APGB, and that is exactly the same concept, but for aerial photography. So the PSGA one is going to give you all the ordnance survey mapping, and the APGB is going to give you the aerial photography. So again, giving you much crisper and more detailed and more up-to-date aerial photography. Now this one's much simpler because once you've signed up to the PSGA, the software will prompt you for to sign up to the APGB, and that's just a few clicks within the software. So you don't need to go off to another organization to do that one. But anyway, that's kind of just a little bit of admin there because the sign up form is as easy as we can make it, but there are some complicated bits in there that we have to do for the licensing of some of this mapping data. Okay, so like I said, we've been going on this since late last year, and we've had some really good initial feedback from it. We've been really impressed by it and really impressed by the number of communities that have gone, yes, I'm going to get involved in that. So as of this morning, we've got 111 community councils who have subscribed to that first free year, which is really good. And as you can see on the map on the right-hand side, there's actually quite a wide distribution. I would have put the Shetlands on a bit more onto that screenshot if there was someone from the Shetlands who had signed up, but they haven't, so they've been half cut off. But they're kind of used to that. So yeah, we thought that it would be a lot of communities around Edinburgh and Glasgow, but actually a really nice distribution there. So it's showing that there's power in this software for rural communities and very small communities, not just the more urban ones. And from my point of view, we've had fantastic support from Improvement Service and from PAS, and I've heard from feedback from the community councils as well. They really value the responsiveness and the engagement that we've had from those two organisations. And from my point of view, we're also on the end of support email. We'd be happy to field any questions you have on this software. So this group of organisations is growing, but we've also had some sort of ancillary organisations as well getting involved in this. So we've had Play Scotland have got involved, and I mentioned talking about walkability to play areas. They're looking at the quality of play areas in different areas, and so they've started using the mapping software as well, and they're hoping to be able to publish some of that information into the project. And we also have a K-Hub now, so I'm not sure if these links are clickable on screen. You might even be able to click those. I'm not sure how Teams works these days. But that is our Community Map Scotland user group. So do go to there and sign up to there. There's a little bit of engagement going on there. I appreciate with these kind of closed forums, it's a bit difficult to get the energy going. But don't be afraid to put silly questions or stuff in there. Myself, Simon, Brian, Emma, the whole lot are here to help you with any questions that come into that forum. It's a safe space. Also, another example, a bit of a case study, really. I was actually talking to this community council this morning. So they've started drafting their local place plan. So at the start of this, when me, Simon, and sitting around going, right, if we do this, is anyone going to actually use it? We've been pleasantly surprised. There are community councils now across Scotland drafting out their local place plan. Speaking to Katie about it this morning, and she was saying, well, we're doing this very rough and ready to start off with, but the key thing is that it's helping us make decisions together, and that was great. That was really good to hear, because that's exactly what this software is doing. It's a visual thing that helps you visualize your area much more clearly. I mean, look at the boundaries on Thornhill. It's obviously some river boundaries, and it's a funny shape. So getting villagers, residents to understand what's going on in this area and what the context and what the constraints are, environmental, economic, planning, whatever it is, stick them onto a map and start that conversation. Practical things, they've been drawing out where they might have suggested development areas. They're putting where they've got existing green space, what they deem their village extent to be, their kind of, the difference between the village and then the countryside, and also putting in where key businesses and community assets are to help with tying the community together. So very simple things to do in the software. It's literally just points, lines, and areas. And you can put them into the different themes, so you can switch them on and off independently. But it's really helping them start to get a grasp of what their local place plan will become and what it will look like. And it's getting the community involved in the first place as well. So they've got a little working group, and they are, sharing this information as they go. So really good to hear. The next steps for us for this project are, well, can we foster more engagement from you? Questions like, based on these kind of sessions, will you sign up and will you have a play with it? Will you get involved in what we're doing? And will the local authorities and central government also get involved? So we've got lots of conversations going on with them on data sharing and possible funding models, and the slight adaptations in local place plans, and how we can get local place plans, essentially ratified into local plans. We've also got to see whether we can find funding and support for this in the next 12 months. So again, we started it up in December-ish, and it's, we're going to close free subscriptions in December. But if you signed up now, you're still going to get 12 months free. So we're going to let that carry through. But what can we do with this? And really, we're just quite excited to see what else other communities can come up and what they can achieve with this digital mapping. So based on one of the earlier sessions we did, a lot of questions came up from there. So I'm just going to cover off some FAQs now, so that we can do a Q&A later that will be a bit more focused. So if an individual signs up for a community council, can it transfer to others? So yes, as I mentioned, this is a community council account that individual members can log into. So it's not tied to an individual, it's tied to an organisation. Can you publish to the website? Yes, there are some caveats with the licensing. As long as you use it for community council business only, you are fine, and don't sell the maps. Can you sign up even if we're not a community council? So this is in a weird grey area with some of the mapping licensing, but we are happy for those organisations to sign up. We might just have to have a bit more jiggery pokery with the mapping licensing. If you can associate or subcontract yourself with a community council body, then it makes things a lot easier. And can the local authority share their local plan to use as a context? Well, yes, and that's the data that comes from improvement service. But as Simon mentioned, you've got a lot of change, and you've got a reset in terms of local plans. So there's a lot of information that we're compiling and we'll bring into the software wherever we can. We can't see land ownership at the moment, and that's something we're hoping to be able to bring into the software. It's obviously a very highly requested feature, so we're going to see if we can bring that in. Do we sell your data? No, not interested in that. We're not selling your data. The data is yours. And we get a lot of questions saying, oh, well, I'd be really interested in this piece of information from this body. Let us know what you would like to see in the software, and we can try and add it in. Obviously, some organizations are more open, some more closed, some have licensing restrictions. We'll just do our best with it. But contacting us through the K-Hub or going direct to improvement service is a good idea. When you sign up to the PSGA, it gives you access to the Ordnance Survey's Data Hub. And we've had a lot of questions about, oh, do I need to go and do something in there? The answer is no. You just need your license number, which will start with AC. So you get an AC and then there's a string of numbers. We just need that code to put into the software. And what do you do if you see if the data is wrong? Well, see where the data is coming from. Some of it, I mean, we're not data owners. Improvement Service are data owners. So look at who owns that data and then contact them directly. And the best thing you can do is maybe send them a PDF mark it up somehow, and that will help them fix it, and that will go through that process. We wouldn't ever fix any data directly in the software, because when we get an update from it, it's just going to override it. So it's better to go to source for those kind of things. And if we create a local place plan, will it be ignored by the planning authority? Well, we hope not. We've heard some really positive things so far from higher tier authorities that they're going to be bringing this information, incorporating local place plans into the larger local plan and getting community councils' voices heard. That's great. That's what it's meant to be. And we can also export information from your mapping software, and that will really help them as well, because their local plans are also map based as well. So having that joined up is really good. Do you have to use the software? Slightly awkward question. No, you don't have to use the software if you don't want to. It's purely opt-in. So the software is available if you would like to join in and have a play with it. So that's the end of our my death by PowerPoint slide deck. I hope you're all still awake. I'll just say at this point, if you would like to get in touch with us, we've got that K-Hub link, which we'll stick into the chat as well. We've got our support email address, and we've got that sign up link if you would like to go and sign up to the software. The code was CMS12, but don't worry if you forget it or put it in wrong or you sign up without it. We'll see Scottish communities come through and we'll apply it retrospectively as well.